Hello, and welcome to your very first video for Math 101. If you don't have your book in paper loose leaf form from the bookstore, you should be getting that soon. You will need to contact them and they will either get it shipped to you or you can pick it up in the bookstore. So every lesson, if you go by either the assignment in Canvas or on the lesson schedule, it will tell you what pages and problems that we're going to work on. So this lesson 1-1, how this will work is every lesson I go through the lesson and I work through the problems. I really encourage you to read and work through the problems on your own first, and that way you're checking them as you go with me. Otherwise, if you just write down what I'm telling you to write down, you're kind of giving yourself a false sense of security. So I encourage you to, as much as possible, try to work through the problems and maybe even hit pause and then watch my video and check them. You can always erase and go back and redo them. Every lesson will start with some kind of a summary of what's going on. So I encourage you to read those. I won't be reading all those on my notes. I'm going to simply be going through the problems. So I encourage you to read everything that I have here. These intro statements. So I'm starting with the first section. You're going to read through this. And then I'm starting here with problem number 1 on page 6. It says, using the fact that percent means per 100, write 84%, 9% as fractions with denominator 100. So that's just 84 over 100 and 9 over 100. So the simple rule says to convert a percent to a fraction, drop the percent sign and use the percent number as the numerator and a fraction whose denominator is 100. We did that. It says, if you notice that the fraction in the first part of your answer to question number 1 could be reduced, good job. When you are working with percents in fraction form, many times it will be easier if the fraction is reduced to lowest terms. Convert each percent to a fraction in lowest terms. So this is really 42 over 100. And when we say reduce, we could just think of a number that will divide into both 42 and 100. And the first one I can think of is 2. So if I divide these each by 2, I get 21 over 50. And 21 only has factors of 3 and 7, and 50 does not divide by 3 or 7. So this is the reduced form. I'm having you skip question 2B. Question 3 says, we know that we can write 12% as 12 over 100 and 72% in the form of 72 over 100. Use a calculator to perform the division in each case. Write the original percent in decimal form. So 12% is 12 over 100 is 0.12 and 72% is 0.72. Number 4 says, use the overall, use the result in question 3 to fill in the blanks in our next rule. To convert a percent to decimal, drop the percent sign and move the decimal point 2 places to the left. Okay, I just always divide by 100. That's my simple way. Write each percent in decimal form. So 41 over 100 is 0.41. 6.7 over 100 is 0.067. And then 120 over 100 is 1.20. Sometimes interpreting the story told by percentage will require a conversion in the other direction, starting in decimal form and converting to percent form. Not surprisingly, we accomplish this by doing exactly the opposite of the steps we did for converting from percent to decimal form. The opposite of moving the decimal 2 places to the left is moving the decimal 2 places right. The opposite of dropping the percent sign is adding percent sign. Write a procedure for converting a decimal to percent form, then use it to convert these. So we are going to multiply decimal by 100 and add percent sign. Or you can say move your decimal to the right 2 places. So this would be 34%, 7%, and 165.8%. Anytime you see a did you get it, they're not required to do. And those are extra problems. You'll see in Canvas that I make, I have a module for each unit where I do some of the did you get it for you for practice. All of the answers to the did you get it are at the end of the lesson. You will find those in, I think it's at the very end of the lesson. I don't have those pages with me right here. But you'll see, it'll say, did you get it answers? And you can go and check your work. So they're just a great way for you to do a couple extra practice problems just to make sure you're understanding the content. So in the most common calculations involving percents, the goal is to find a percentage of some quantity. To understand how to do so, consider the following example. You probably know that 50% of 10 is 5. Let's rewrite that statement, then turn it into a calculation. 50% of 10 is 5. 50% as a decimal is 0.5. Of means that we're going to multiply times 10. And is usually means an equal sign. So 0.5 times 10 is equal to 5. So I encourage you to read through the solved examples because they're usually a situation that's going to help you work through a problem. So read through solved example 1 and then read through solved example 2. I'm going to move on. So it says, guess what? The same idea can be used to find a percentage, but it's more straightforward to use division. For example, of the 32 teams in the National Football League, 12 make the playoffs each year. What percentage of teams make the playoffs? Divide the number of teams that make the playoffs by the total number of teams and write your answer on decimal form. So that would be 12 divided by 32. And I'm going to show you that I use Desmos to do a lot of my calculations because it's easy. And so I'm going to do 12 divided by 32. And notice it gives me a decimal answer. If I ever want it to be in fraction form, you can just click this circle right here and it will give you a reduced fraction form. But I'm going to go back to the decimal. It's 0.375. And that's the same as 37.5%. So there it is in decimal form. Based on your answer to question 8, what percentage of teams play the playoffs? Well, I already answered that up there, 37.5%. Here's another did you get it problem to give you some practice. So catch me back for the next video for the second part to lesson 1-1.